Stewart Kantor is CEO of Full Spectrum. He has 20 years of experience in the wireless industry, including senior level positions in marketing, finance, and product development at AT&T Wireless and Bell South International. Since 2004, Mr. Kantor has focused on the development of private wireless data network technology for mission-critical industries such as electric and water utilities and oil and gas. You're in the right place.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks a lot
for the invitation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I appreciate Lexington Institute's opportunity here to speak today. My name is Stewart Kantor, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Full Spectrum. We're headquartered in Sunnyvale, California, and we design, sell, and manufacture wireless equipment specifically for the electric utility industry and other mission-critical industries. And I think it's important to emphasize most of my week before today was spent with key people in the rail industry. And as you'll hear in some of my discussion, what we're starting to see is industrial applications and exposure to internet threats is expanding very rapidly, and it's across all the industrial applications, not just electric utilities. Today, electric utilities in the U.S. use some of our equipment to create secure, private, wide area wireless networks. What Daniel was referring to, and one of, I think your 5 themes was isolated networks. And that's where we've been focusing our attention for quite a long time. As I mentioned, my background came from the wireless industry with many of the large carriers, and we formed this company to really address some of the deficiencies in the public wireless networks. So specifically, I want to get into addressing communications as the utilities begin to scale up industrial networks, with the ultimate goal of, if you talk to the utility industry as a whole, of creating a self-healing, intelligent electric grid. And one of the interesting things about the electric utility industry is for many years, they've been operating these private networks, mostly voice networks. They're private, mission-critical mobile voice networks, what you would call a cellular system. And why do they have these systems? It's because they need to respond to emergencies and major power outages when there are man-made and natural disasters. Again, a common theme today has been how can utilities respond? If you think about our society, and it's becoming more and more like this, without electricity, nothing really can happen anymore. And if you imagine all of your digital devices right now, I don't know about you, but every few minutes I'm looking for an outlet to plug my smartphone into or my computer. And in some ways, I'm an extension of that power outlet now, along with my phone. And so if you imagine, there's a concept in the electric utility industry now, which they have focused on, is called perfect power, which is we can't ever be out of power because the entire economy comes to a grinding halt. So again, the key component here is how do you have a communications layer that can support all these new devices and keep the electric grid responding in real time. And one of the common themes you'll hear about in my discussion today will be 3 concepts: availability, reliability, and security. And in our opinion, these 3 concepts are very tightly woven together. And availability and reliability speak to, is the communications network available given that there are other consumers on that network? So for utilities, immediately when a crisis happens, the power goes out and everybody reaches for their phone to make a call, and then the networks overload. So exactly when critical infrastructure needs network access is when they're most likely to be blocked. And that's for the very reason, too, that they maintain these mobile voice networks today. So our company came into existence in 2006 to address a very specific need, not mobile voice, but wireless data communications for the electric grid. And you've heard a lot of terms, and they keep evolving. Some of the terms are machine-to-machine. Smart grids, we went through that period for a few years, and now we're to Internet of Things. And for utilities specifically, industrial Internet of Things. And again, this does expand much farther than electric utilities. We're talking about natural gas pipelines, hazardous pipelines, rail, transport, and now automated vehicles. And all of this infrastructure relies on communications and secure communications to succeed. So if you think about the pervasive data that we all have today, and have experienced as consumers, most of that is lacking for industrial applications. And it's because their assets are distributed in remote places, don't necessarily follow where consumers live, and so you see the consumer networks really following where the population and people who can generate revenue for them versus industrial connectivity. One of the things you've heard of the number of utilities in the U.S. today, the number is roughly around 3,200 electric utilities. So again, there are many other categories of rail and water and wastewater, but just thinking about those 3,200 electric utilities, today they all have their own mobile voice networks. These are cellular-like towers, base stations, backhaul infrastructure, completely independent of the cellular networks. And these networks have been in existence for, they predated the consumer cellular data networks, and 30 years after the advent of cellular, they continue on, and the utilities continue to upgrade these systems. And the real reason is they need to respond when there are man-made and natural disasters. I think the point for this has been driven home many, many times now. If we go back to the catastrophic events of September 11th, Hurricane Sandy, and now if you were to think about a certification of this new standard, 802.16s, it really gives them the opportunity to go down the path of isolated networks and have a secure, reliable grid as we add on these tens of millions of devices that will have to start to become part of our core generation. So, thank you.